Welcome to the Firehouse. I'm your host, Captain Kyle Smith. You're responding down the road less traveled en route to financial freedom. If you're a first responder, then planning your future through financial literacy is a minimum requirement. This isn't financial advice, just a conversation to get your wheels turning. Ready? Good, because you're at sea. What's up, everyone? It's Captain Kyle Smith, and this week I sat down for a morning meeting with Forbes Council member and #1 business coach Jessica Marx. Listen in as she identifies the top 3 reasons businesses fail and the best ways to fix it. Hope you guys enjoy it. All right, hey Jessica, welcome to the bullpen. Thanks for meeting me. I want to dive straight into your first alarm here, but before we do that, how have things changed in the Marx household since the pandemic started?
As things kind of settle down, our life has created this new norm. Both mine and Garrett's companies have been very busy, plus the stress of him on the fire department and you guys being extra busy. So it's kind of just become the new normal for us, but we've adjusted to it. And I mean, we're definitely anxious to start traveling again, but we're
Yeah,
getting used to
yeah.
it.
We had to do the same thing. Our son has some lung issues as well. And at first it was so scary. Everything was just so different. And we had no slides. We talk about slides when we go on calls on the fire department on things that we can, kind of pull back to where we'll have some experiences with where we can, kind of use that experience to help mitigate whatever emergency we're on. But with this, it was so different. And we finally feel like we're starting to get to the end of it. We're starting to maybe, be on the backside of it, back to some sense of normalcy. Some of the kids are going back to school. Some of the restaurants are opening back up. But gosh, in the beginning, it was so crazy. But I'm just grateful as well that we have a job we have that we can rely on. And
Mhm.
yeah, we're all just trying to do the best we can. But yeah, I'm excited to get in your first alarm. You ready to do that?
I'm ready.
All right, cool. So on the San Diego Fire Department, Jessica, a first alarm assignment consists of 4 engines and a truck. But here at the firehouse, I'll ask you 4 questions. You give us 1 piece of advice. That sound good?
Okay.
All right. So you're going to be first in on your first alarm. And when you're first in, you got to give a size up. And a size up is who you are, where you work, and how long you've been doing it.
Okay, so my name is Jessica Marx. I am based out of San Diego, California. I am the founder and lead business strategist for Jessica Marx Coaching Corporation. I've owned this business now for almost 3 years. And prior to that, I came out of an executive role where I was involved in a multi-billion-dollar startup overseeing the national sales team and corporate strategy.
Awesome. Gosh. So business coaching, that might sound a little foreign to some of the folks listening to this. Jessica, can you just explain exactly what that means and how that might pertain to some of our people?
Yes. So obviously, being a part of a company at the very beginning and being such an instrumental piece in having it grow with the sales side and the commercial operations, I was able to learn a lot, the highs and the lows of building and then going to sale for $8.5 billion. And while I was there, I invested in a lot of mentors, a lot of coaches, leadership, executive, and I really felt like a lot of entrepreneurs who are starting, just starting out, or they've made multiple 6 figures, they're trying to break past that 7-figure mark. They didn't have types of coaches into that type of training and what it takes. And so because I was such a huge role in creating that early on in the company, I decided that when I left the company, I would work with entrepreneurs that were in that 6 and 7-figure range to really help them have massive growth within their companies, and not just growth, but profitable growth, because so many companies out there have a really great number and it looks really attractive, but they're not profitable. And if you're not profitable, you're not lucrative. And at some point, it's not worth it anymore. So that's what I focus on now. And I work with entrepreneurs all over the world.
That's awesome. And gosh, I think if at the end of the day, if you're not profitable, then you're just kind of volunteering or donating your time, which itself is an admirable thing. We all donate our time. We volunteer in a variety of different areas. But when you're getting into this level, well, at the end of the day, that's basically what matters. The bottom line is, are you profitable or are you not? So how did you sort of transition from the corporate world into the business coaching side? What made you want to start down that path?
So it was a total fluke, actually. I had worked really hard with, growing the corporate or climbing the corporate ladder and being a part of this company. And I had zero intentions of leaving. And at the same time, simultaneously, Garrett had been going through medic school and the fire academy, and he had gotten hired on with San Diego City Fire. And I had been, putting in 100-hour work weeks, traveling all over the United States, going through fertility so we could get pregnant. And when I finally got pregnant with my twins, it got to a point I wanted this so badly for so long, and it's finally happening. We're pregnant with twins. So once I had the twins, I transitioned out of corporate with every intention of staying home for a few years and taking a break and really just enjoying it. And I knew Garrett's schedule was going to be really demanding as a firefighter. And I lasted a few months. I called him crying at work one day and I said, I can't do this. This is not for me. I need to go back to work. And so I started looking into roles that would be comparable to what I was doing prior to leaving my executive role. And I started to realize this is also going to demand 60, 80-hour work weeks from me. And at the time, I was able to say, I'm going to do this on my own. I'm going to take a risk here. I'm going to start the business. If I get a couple clients, great. If it takes off, we'll see where it goes. And I think Garrett kind of knew that I don't really go into anything half-ass. And so within 6 months of starting the business, it was producing multiple six figures because I just kind of dove right back into it. I had the leads, I had the contacts, I had the referral base. And so I was able to really build something that was exciting for myself versus building somebody else's company.
That's awesome. And by the way, we like our girls that way, right? We like our girls that jump in. It's kind of part of our personality, and those things really mesh well. But it must have been scary. It must have been like, here we are. We're at a turning point here. We're at a crossroads. Am I going to stay home with raise the twins, or am I going to jump back in? And what was it? Do you remember? Was it that time when you called him at work crying, where you're like, listen, something has to change here, or was there like a trigger point for you?
I think because it was such a sudden change. I came out of a career path that I'd spent, the last 15 years having higher level conversations, going into an office, traveling to meetings, and then to really just cut that completely out. And then you've got two screaming babies, you've got a husband that's gone, and people show up for a little bit in the beginning and then they kind of disappear. And then I felt I'm losing myself here. I don't even know who I am anymore because I've been associated with my career for so long. And I know a lot of women and a lot of moms struggle with, well, I committed to being a mom, so I need to be a mom, or they have that mom guilt of to work, where for me, I kind of viewed it as I could be a really kick-ass part-time mom and have a career, but I'm going to be a really lousy full-time mom. And so I just knew, and Garrett knew the entire time when I quit my job and decided to do this, that it probably wasn't going to be for me, but he knew that I needed to try it, or else I'd always have this feeling of, well, all these other moms get to stay home and I'm working so hard. But because I was able to actually give it a try and see if I could do it, I have a lot more comfort now when I am working, knowing that this is what's good for me and this is what's healthy for us.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. So that's sort of the genesis of how things started. Where are things at today, 3 years down the line?
So things are going well. I now have a team of 4 that work for me. And, I went through that beginning phase of that hustle, where I was working a lot. And now I am able to really structure my time and work 3 days a week and have high ticket clients and structure my programs to where I am able to accommodate the firefighter schedule. I build my schedule a lot of times off of, my husband's schedule, and then, the kids' preschool schedule or the nanny or whatever it is that we need. So that way I'm not left scrambling, needing help. when I have to be on the phone with clients, but I'm either at work or I'm a mom. It never really coincides with one another. I'm not on my phone when I'm with my kids, I'm present, and vice versa. When I'm at work, they're either with somebody or they're at preschool, and it's my time to work.
Yeah, no, and it's important to have those boundaries so that you can get the work done that you need. But then also when it's time to shut the computer off, it's time to turn the phone off, you can be home, and that sometimes is very difficult, particularly when you do have a husband who has a particularly challenging schedule like we do. Now, for folks listening to this, Jessica, is a lot of our people have side hustles. They have side businesses where they're looking to scale. They're looking to take the next step. What what does a business coach actually do for people that are listening that don't really know, like that want to take that next step? Why would hiring a business coach help them achieve some of those goals?
Well, first off, I think firefighters are a prime example of somebody that can have a side hustle, that can have another business and be highly lucrative doing it. My husband works for San Diego City, but he also is a licensed general contractor and owns a plumbing company that's been very successful. And he has the time and the flexibility to be able to do that, and also really hand select the projects that you want to work on, because it doesn't have to be your main source of income. So when working with a business coach, when people come to me, I typically say you have one of three problems. You either have a marketing problem, which means nobody knows who you are. You're not visible enough. People don't know what it is or what you do or how to work with you. Or you have really great marketing, great branding, and people are finding you, but you have a sales issue. You're getting them on the phone. You can't close a deal. You're not able to convince people that the investment has value. Or you're getting sales, you have good marketing, but there's a CEO issue, which means you can't effectively run the company. You're not seen as a solid leader. You don't have the financial backing or the financial knowledge to be running the company at the pace that it's growing. And so for me, it's really identifying, okay, where is the issue? What is your growth blocker? What's stopping you from growing? Could be personnel, could be team size, could be systems, processes, budget, raising money, having the capital. It just depends. Everyone's going to be so different. But I have, my strength is the strategic ability to go in and really see it from a different perspective and figure out, okay, how are we going to get you to the $1 million mark or whatever that goal is in the quickest way possible, the most efficient way, but then also that's going to have longevity to where it's not a sprint and it's actually a marathon, and that we're going to get you results ongoing.
Oh, I love that. That makes a lot of sense. And sometimes it does. It takes a different set of eyes coming in and seeing the problem from a different perspective. I know that from a lot of guys that have had here on the morning meeting that do side hustles, sometimes it feels overwhelming. Like I don't know how to improve my sales. I don't feel like a salesperson. I'm just a firefighter. Like I have this particular skill set over here. Maybe it's plumbing, maybe it's doing electrical or other contracting skills, or a variety of other things that we've had people on here talking about. But then it's like, well, how do you get your name out there? How do you get your brand out there? How do you actually do the sales part? Or how do you effectively run your company while you have to be at the firehouse?
Yep.
Those are all complicated questions. Those are all things that you can like just spin yourself out of control thinking about. And what it sounds like to me, Jessica, is if one of these guys came and hired you, you could help them with a different set of eyes, with a different skill set than they have, to help them try to solve some problems. Am I like tracking with that? Okay.
Yes, no, you definitely are. And it's so funny because, for anybody listening to this that actually knows my husband, and I know you know him, and we could not be more opposite. And especially when it comes to being business owners. And it's really played in our advantage because we balance each other out. And I think being firefighters, being medics, you have this level of calm, and there isn't necessarily this sense of urgency or rush where I'm the opposite. I'm go, 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 and constantly hustling. And where Garrett will say, I'll email somebody back tomorrow, or I'll get them a bid in 2 days. I'm the complete opposite, where I'm like, let's get on the phone. Let's talk right now. And so I do think it's a huge advantage, though, in running a business, having that personality trait, because you take the highs and the lows and you're able to balance them out. But at the same time, if there are areas that you know your skills and your strengths are not where they need to be, whether that be sales, whether that be understanding financials, you have to invest in your growth. I don't care if it's listening to podcasts, books, going to seminars, hiring a coach, whatever it is, it's going to give you a level of confidence where people feel just as confident investing it back into, no matter what industry you're in, because you know what you're talking about.
No,
And so
that's
I think that you can start, whether it's, for free, learning for free, and that's those podcasts, that's YouTube, whatever you need to do, or it can be, those higher level investments where you're going to see a much quicker return because somebody's working directly with you and pulling out, those weaknesses and saying, here's how we can improve upon them.
No, that makes perfect sense. I think too, and I'm thinking out loud here, the part about this is not an emergency. I don't need to get this quote or this, I don't need to email this quote back to the client right away because this is not an emergency. I'm used to dealing with real emergencies. So I could see where that could kind of hang some of our folks up. But two, the part about like, we are problem solvers. We want to be the ones fixing everything. And so when you get stuck in this problem that are things that are not comfortable for us, that are not familiar to us, it has to be a really frustrating thing. But again, when you get that outside perspective, somebody that is not maybe so intimately attached to whatever business it is you're running, it could be really helpful. And I just love the part you said about investing in yourself, whether it's for free with podcasts or books or whatever else we talk about a lot there, or it's actually going out and hiring somebody to help you. Like you have to turn pro at some point. You have to become a professional in this side hustle over here. You have to approach it the same way you would approach your regular job on the fire department. I had Jeff Rotherham on the morning meeting a while back. He's a certified financial planner. And he said the number one return on investment that you'll get, whether it's stock market, real estate, or anything else, he said the number one return on investment is when you invest in yourself. And I just love the fact that
absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant.
And it's a write-off. It's a write-off. So it's, when people hire me, it's 100% write-off for their business. And I just think that, you have to be willing to be a beginner at anything. Just like in the fire academy, you were a beginner, medic school, you were a beginner, starting a side hustle, you're going to be a beginner. If you're willing to be a beginner, you will succeed. If you feel like you need to start at somebody else's chapter 10 and that you need to be producing hundreds of thousands of dollars year one, you're probably going to fail.
Oh, God, that is just so well said. And Chris Van Leeuwen, another guy I had on, he talked about the Proby mindset. Just approach everything with the Proby mindset. For those listening not familiar with Proby, that's like a rookie on the fire department. We call them Probies. Everything is new. Everything's exciting. You're just super hungry to do a great job. Approach everything that way, and success is like inevitable. That's just perfect. Now, looking back, Jessica, I know it hasn't always been smooth sailing. Do you have I like to ask this of people. Do you have a favorite mistake? Something that you've done that you look back on and maybe going through it at the time was painful. Maybe going through it felt impossible, but on the backside of it, once you got around that obstacle or once you overcame it, you grew from it, you learned from it, you got better. Do you have a favorite one?
I mean, we kind of already touched base on it. And I think it was, for most people, they would say, I cannot believe you're calling being a stay-at-home mom a mistake. But for me, it wasn't the right decision. And it could have gone two completely different ways. I mean, if I would have stayed there and, Garrett left for work every day and I just decided not to make that decision to go back to work or to launch a company or to do it, I can't imagine just emotionally and mentally where I would be, and what kind of mom I would be. And so I think that, trying it out and seeing that it wasn't for me, but then also being okay with saying, will people judge me? Maybe. Will people say I failed at this? Possibly, but I need to do what's best for me as a wife, as a mom, and as an individual in order to really succeed. And it does. It lights my fire. I work with I have incredible conversations every day. I work with amazing, talented individuals that are growing, exponentially in their businesses. And so it gives me a perspective, and it allows me to be a completely different mom.
No, I mean, that just makes a lot of sense, right? If you're not happy in the other parts of your life, that is going to filter in to your family life. It's just inevitable. I mean, there's been times where things have been really hard on the fire department, whether it's mandatories, which I know you guys are
Hmm.
dealing with yourselves, whether it's running difficult calls. Inevitably, you bring that stuff home, and if you're not happy doing that stuff, it is going to impact you. Being a mom or being a parent, that's just an inevitability. Now, what would be like an ideal client for you? I know you talked about six figures and all that, but do you have an ideal client that you look for, or that you would be particularly adept at helping?
So, there's a lot of talk in the market about, what is your niche market? Who's your client avatar? And I get asked this a lot of times when I'm like speaking on stage or a panel, and I have the same response every time. It's the only trait I look for in a client, and it's how hungry are you? 'Cause I don't really care about anything else. I don't really care where you've been. I don't really care what the story is or what the marketing looks like, anything. How hungry are you to hit whatever goal it is that you have in place? Because I can lead a horse to water, I can't make it drink. I can be excited about your business. I can see the potential, but if you don't feel it and you don't see it and you don't want to put the work in to get there, then it's going to waste my time. It's going to waste your time. So I really layer into all my marketing, all my copy, to book a discovery call with me. I mean, there's a lot of pre-qualification questions, because I want to know, you know, how badly do you want to succeed in this business? And for some people, it could be a side hustle that they're like, I'm counting on this to get me out of this corporate role. And for others, I've been doing this for 7 years, and I know it's capable of so much more, and I can't get there on my own, and I'm ready to take it to the next level. So that's really my only qualifier.
I mean, but that is a huge one, right? That, because at the end of the day, that really is all that matters. We talk to the recruits about this at the academy all the time. We're gonna hustle. We're gonna give you absolutely every opportunity to succeed, but we can't do the work for you. We're gonna give you
Mhm.
everything you need. And for us in our line of work, it's all the information, all the material, all the tips and tricks that we've picked up along the way. But at the end of the day, guys, you have to show up. You're the one that has to do the work. And it's the exact same thing that Jessica's talking about. I just absolutely love that. Now, if somebody was interested in scaling up, somebody who's interested in hiring a coach, what would be sort of what would be some tips you would give them, or some advice you might give them?
So I always say it takes money to make money. And I think where a lot of entrepreneurs, or, a lot of people just starting a business out, go wrong is they either don't save up to start and to have the actual investment to bootstrap it, or they don't have the funds, or the business starts making money, but they want the money. They don't want to reinvest it. They don't want to hire a team, or they hire a team, but they hire the cheapest option, which is going to get you the cheapest results. And so, if you are going to start a business or you have a business, you have to be willing to make some sacrifices. You just do. And, both Garrett and I, the first year we started our businesses, we were reinvesting every single dollar we made, because we knew and we were prepared for that. And we, financially invested and took the risk on both of our companies. But you get to a point where those investments really start to pay off, and then you have people working for you, and you have team that's producing income or allowing me to do, revenue producing activities, and they're taking care of all of the administrative work. And so being ready to, make those financial commitments that it's going to take in order to build a healthy, sustainable company.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. There's a great book called The E-Myth, and they talk a lot about working on the business, not in the business. So if you're the one down
Mhm.
in the trenches doing absolutely everything to solve every single problem, well, you're going to burn out and you're going to run out of time. Whereas if you can get a team together and start implementing some systems, it's going to make your efficiencies go a lot better. Well, what does that take? That takes resources in the form of capital investment in your own business. Again, that's investing in yourself, guys, like exactly what she's talking about. We talk a lot about in real estate, having reserves on the side for emergencies when things come up, so that, you know, if let's give an example. If every month you're making $100 in cash flow in a real estate investment, well, if you're going out and just spending that on, I don't know, whatever, the latest pair of Nikes or something, that's probably not even a thing anymore. But nevertheless, if you're just going and spending all that money and never reinvesting it back into the company, well, eventually there's going to be a capital call. There's going to be an emergency at the property. There's going to be a leak in the roof or something, and you're going to have to come up with that money. And if you don't have anything in reserves, there's no way you're going to be able to afford to do that, and it's going to just absolutely upend you. And so when you're talking about it takes money to make money, that's the first thing that comes to my mind, is you have to have a little bit of reserve in order to stay afloat in real estate or any sort of investing that you're talking about. And I think that's just perfect.
Well,
But
and I will say too, to add on to that, you know, I look at the fire department as a huge blessing to us as entrepreneurs, as business owners. I mean, we set ourselves up and we made it very clear, you know, and when very early on when we got married, or when I was leaving my corporate role, and we had said, you know, we want to be in a position where we can live completely off Garrett's income, because it's the only stability. Every other thing would be a variable. You know, it would be a liability. If I worked at a company, I could get let go, whatever it may be. But with the fire department, there's a lot of security around that. And so we did. We made sure that we lived below our means. We do not finance anything other than mortgages. We, you know, we save up cash for anything that we've purchased. And it's allowed us to be a lot riskier when it comes to the business side, because we know that every month we're able to live off of just Garrett's income and be totally fine. So when the pandemic hit, there was a little moment of, you know, will people allow construction companies into their home? What does this mean for the coaching industry? We don't know. It's never been through anything like this. But we had this level of security because we knew we have always made decisions that we're going to live well beyond, you know, below our means, to where if something happens, we're not at risk. We haven't set ourselves up to change our lifestyle in any way.
no, that's
And
perfect.
so I think too, like, for everyone in the fire department that wants to start a business, or their wife wants to start a business, I would start there in how you're living and what you're spending personally, because you'll be able to do a lot more with the business if your personal financials are in order.
Yeah, that aligns perfectly with what we talk about here at the Firehouse all the time, is live below your means, invest 10% of every dollar that you make. And at the end of the road, you're going to be happy. You're going to be successful. That's like a core tenet of personal finance, is just track your expenses and live below your means. Those are the basics. Where some of our people might get into trouble is we tend to be a very frugal, let's say frugal and not cheapskates. We're tend to be very frugal people in the fire service, but that can help in terms of living below our means. And we are fortunate that we have a secure income. We can count on that check coming in every 2 weeks, and that we can use that as the foundation to take a little more risk to blast off from. So now, if you could give yourself a piece of advice when you were starting out, you know, hindsight being 2020, if you could give yourself a piece of advice when you're starting out, what would that be?
I think because I was coming out of, I started my career in commercial residential real estate. Then I went into healthcare. And so I didn't realize transitioning into this type of industry, and even other industries, how much the online presence is playing a game right now, where it's a time investment. It's not a monetary investment, and it can really drive revenue. And there's so much at our fingertips with technology that I was a little blind to when I first started my company. And now I know that it can be highly, highly lucrative for us as business owners. You got to show up though, because here's the thing. I think a lot of people have companies and they just post photos of the product or photos of the job site. But people want to hear the story. People want to know you're a firefighter. People want to know that maybe, 10% of your overall proceeds go to, the firefighters foundation, or whatever it is. Like, you have to build a brand story no matter how small your company is or how small your business is, because people do business with one another. And so it's important that you are showing up and that you're helping people see that there's other sides to what you just do as an industry expert.
Gosh, that's awesome. That is awesome. That's a great piece of advice there, Jessica. And yeah, I think just a great way to wrap up your first alarm. So, if people were looking to learn more about you or the industry itself, how could they find you?
Yes, so you can find me at my website, thejessicamarx.com. It's Marx, or on Instagram at thejessicamarx. And I am more than happy to give anybody advice to get them pointed in the right direction. Or if you send me a DM, I'm on messages every single day. So a lot of times I can just give you a boost of advice that'll get you started or get you pointed in the right direction until you're actually ready to scale the business and make that type of investment.
Awesome. Yeah, guys, she's showing up on Instagram and other places. If you're interested in tracking her down, do look her up. I'll link all those things in the show notes, Jessica. And I just want to say thank you again for your time today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right on. All right. Hey, thanks again to Jessica for meeting me here in the bullpen. Guys, if you have a business that you've been running on the side, a side hustle, or you got a great idea that you just need a little bit help optimizing, you might need a business coach like Jessica. Give her a call and see if she can help you sort through some of the problems. Maybe it's a problem with your marketing. Maybe it's a problem with you yourself managing all the time. You don't have the systems in place. You're working in the business, not on it. Give her a call and see what she can do. If you'd like to learn more about Jessica, you can find her on her website at thejessicamarx.com or on social media at thejessicamarx. If you'd like to learn more about us, we're on Facebook at The FIREhouse. That's f.i.r.house. On Instagram, the _fire_house. On LinkedIn, The FIREhouse Investors, or any place you listen to podcasts. If you learned something today and you'd like to hear more, please like, share, and subscribe. But no matter what you do, take this information, go out there, and get some. Stay snap.